Welcome to this place called Earth. This is Somatic Inversions, Behavioural Manipulations, how manipulators control your state before they control your mind. In this short, we expose the mechanisms that shape behaviour beneath awareness. Take a breath, feel your chest. Feel the way your breath subtly changes when you sense tension or closeness or threat in another. This short inversion is simple and yet unnerving. Manipulators don't start by changing your thoughts. They start by hijacking your nervous system. The rest follows automatically. Let's expose the pattern. Hijacking begins with physiological disruption, not persuasion. Neuroscience has shown again and again, from Joseph Ledoux's work on amygdala hijacking to Porges' polyvagal theory, that the nervous system reacts before conscious awareness. This is why manipulators create sudden intensity, unexpected warmth, abrupt coldness, prolonged silence, unpredictable timing, and confusing emotional rhythms. These aren't personality quirks. They are physiological destabilisation tactics. Because when your autonomic state shifts, your judgment narrows, your boundaries soften, your critical thinking drops, your emotional dependency increases, and your body searches for regulation externally. This makes you malleable, not because you're naive, but because your physiology was captured before your mind could respond. The abusive partner who mixes fear and relief. Consider an abusive dynamic seen in countless case studies and domestic violence research. A partner cycles between criticism, which leads to attachment activation, affection aids in oxytocin release. Silence leads to sympathetic arousal, and warmth allows for vagal soothing. This is intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive behavioral pattern known, Skinner, 1957. Your nervous system becomes hooked on the relief, not the person. This is why victims often describe the relationship as addictive magnetic, like a drug, something I couldn't leave. Their state was hijacked. Their thoughts simply aligned with the hijack. This isn't a weakness, it's physiology. How the NXIVM caused somatic destabilisation. The NXIVM cult used sleep deprivation, starvation, high arousal emotional drills, unpredictable praise, sudden invalidation, and enforced vulnerability exercises. These techniques didn't brainwash people, they dysregulated them. Once dysregulated, the group provided relief in the form of belonging, validation, and structure. This created somatic dependency, not intellectual agreement. Victims didn't believe Keith Raniere because he was persuasive. They believed him because their autonomic state was compromised. This is physiological hijacking on a group scale. How governments and corporations use state manipulation. Governments and corporations across nations and throughout history have used fear induction followed by reassurance to guide public behavior. Examples include government fear campaigns such as those during wartime, public health crises, and national emergencies. They often follow a pattern. The threat message, which leads to sympathetic activation. Authority providing reassurance, phrasing such as trust the science, which leads to vagal soothing. Instruction, an example such as stay home to save granny, elicit obedience from the population, and to counter the request. It becomes a question of morality through emotional anchoring to granny, which leads to herd mentality and blind compliance and obedience, because to question from a moral perspective leads to exile of the group. It's your fault if granny dies, because you would not comply with the rules, which were illogical anyhow, which is often a signifier of manipulation. True is open to scrutiny and doesn't create confusion or provide contradiction. These are tools to create dissonance, and that's why they are used. This isn't a conspiracy, it's a documented communication strategy. The UK's SPIB Behavioural Advisory Committee, for example, has publicly acknowledged using fear to increase compliance. Corporate advertising. Beauty and wellness industries frequently induce insecurity, inadequacy, and shame, then offer a product as relief. This is the same mechanism as an abusive relationship. Physiology leads to dependency and then compliance. How the hijack works somatically. A manipulator destabilizes your autonomic state in one of three ways. 1. Sympathetic activation. This includes symptoms of increased heart rate, increased tension, and agitation. This creates urgency, which reduces boundary strength and increases compliance. 2. Dorsal collapse. This includes symptoms of numbness, freeze state, and shutdown from being tired and worn out from the cyclical nature of sympathetic activation. This creates internal states of helplessness, reduces agency, and leads to individual increases in submission. 3. Vagal overattunement. Symptoms include artificial warmth, such as I'll buy you a gift, what do you want? A form of reward, examples used during the COVID era, discounted food, and the Eat Out to Help Out campaign being an act of warmth. Or behaviors of physical intimacy and desire and mirroring. This creates false safety, which lowers boundaries, with the intent to increase trust and lower discernment overall. Once your nervous system is in any of these states, your brain defers to the environment. The manipulator becomes the regulator, and the person who regulates your state becomes the person who controls your behavior. This is not a metaphor. This is neuroscience, the inversion. We were told, don't fall for manipulation. Just be logical, stay alert, think critically, trust your intellect. But the inversion is this. Manipulation doesn't enter through thought. It enters through the body. The nervous system is hijacked first, and the mind only rationalizes the hijack. So to close this short, your vulnerability is not stupidity. It is biology. Manipulation is not a battle of intelligence. It is a battle of regulation. And once you see that, you stop blaming the mind and you start protecting the body.